Hey, what's going guys? Today we've got this massive box here for the HGUC Narrative Gundam Apex. So this is the normal release of the Narrative Gundam. There is also going to be a P Bandai release. Well, actually the P Bandai release is just a parts set for the B packs. So even if you want to get that parts set, you are going to have to get this one as well. Unfortunately, Bandai is a little bit too good at getting us to spend money. But this, of course, is the new lead Gundam from the narrative movie, which has just recently been released. I haven't watched it yet. I have watched the first 20 minutes of the part that's on YouTube. I have watched that, but I haven't watched the full movie yet. I'm looking forward to seeing that, though. It looks pretty good. One reason I'm looking forward to seeing the movie is because I think that seeing the movie and also building this kit will probably bring me around to liking this a lot more than I do currently at the moment. At the moment, I'm a little bit unsure how much I'm really going to like this. The Gundam design, I'm a little bit kind of on the fence about. Some parts of that I like, some part of it I don't like. As for like the Apex, this big huge mobile armor thing that it's riding in, some parts I like, some parts I'm not really too into, but we'll see. Once I've got it built and I'm able to actually kind of experience it a little bit more, maybe it'll change my mind more about it. But at the meantime, I'm thinking that probably what this is going to end up being is a lot of kit bashing material for the most part, so we'll see. Anyway, really cool box art here in the front. Obviously it's blasting away, but there in the background there's some cool stuff. You can see the Phoenix flying up there in the background, as well as the different forms of the Jesta, which we got released as P Bandai kits, which I do also have. Actually just got these in at the same time, so I will be building up and doing reviews for those guys as well for you guys in the near future. But for now, let's dig into the Narrative Gundam Apex. This is a very large box. I was expecting it to be big, obviously, because it's got like all this mobile armor stuff, but comparing it to other kind of big similar kits like we've got from the past, for example, the G-Self Assault Pack or the high-grade Iron Blood Orphans Barbatos with the long-range booster, those were also kind of similar kits, but not as thick a box. This one is definitely a deeper box than what those had, so there's a lot of stuff in here, so let's get into it. On the side of the box, you can see this is number 218 in the HGUC line. And then on the bottom of the box here, it's showing some of the articulation of the kit. It's got a little fin on the back of the leg that flips out. The shoulders flip out to the side, kind of like the Tri-Burning Gundam and the Build Burning Gundam, all of those that had a similar features to them, as well as the Gym. So I don't know if this is using some parts of the same frame or just using similar technology. I would assume just similar technology for that, but nice front and back image of the Narrative Gundam itself. I don't really like the bare exposed frame on the upper arm and the upper thigh. It really reminds me of the G-Savior. Yeah, I don't really particularly like that. And so obviously the overall mix of images here is kind of a mix of certain aspects of the Unicorn as well as certain aspects of the new Gundam. Obviously this is very reminiscent of the new Gundam in a lot of areas. But I'm just thinking, even if it did have full armor covering the upper arms and the legs, I'm not really sure if I would like the chest. The chest also just kind of kills it for me. I'm not really too into the look of that. But again, that's just my thoughts on it for now. Once I've got it built, I may change my mind. But anyway, here is the armor. It has the joint parts that can be replaced to recreate the deployed Psycho Capture. So that's the name of this system here. On these big long rails, those parts, I guess, slide forward and then form this capturing system for capturing the Phoenix, as we saw in the trailer. If you guys haven't seen the movie fully, you can at least see that part in the trailer very briefly. Looks like we've got a couple bits that kind of open up and spread out there on the like lower leg boosters as well. And I've seen on images online that these are not actually fixed in this position. You can actually move those around like forward and so like to different positions. So that's good. Those are basically like affixed onto the legs, sort of, these lower sections there. These upper sections here on the top, the cover can be removed to show the missiles on these missile pods there. As you can see, it's got the Unicorn's fuel tanks there. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those on the back. Let's flip it around to the top. Just some more details about the gimmicks, showing the different details of that. It also includes a couple of large beam sabers, which will go on the end of that. So that'll make this whole thing very long, with just how long it is already, plus the extra length of the big beam saber sticking out the end of that. That's interesting. One interesting thing too about this is it doesn't include any sort of beam rifle or anything, as far as I know, for like the Gundams. If you didn't want to have it actually riding in the mobile armor, then, or in the Apex, as they're calling it, then there's not really anything that you can have a hole as far as a weapon. It looks like it does include beam sabers, but no rifle or anything. Maybe it just doesn't use a rifle in the movie, and that's why. But yeah, come to think of it, the B packs don't include any sort of rifle at all either. It's just shields and funnels for the backpack, so I don't know. Anyway, the list price here is 5,500 yen, which is, I gotta say, not too bad considering the size of this box. This is a big box, a lot of plastic in here. There is, however, a very large sticker sheet, as you can see there, covering a lot of different things. That's unfortunate, but we got our fuel tanks there and just a whole bunch of stuff Just gonna dig down through this. We've got an inclusion of the base for that too as well, of course. Oh my, there's really a lot of stuff in here. Alright, so let's finally get through this because there's a lot of runners we need to get through for this. So in typical HGUC fashion, we've just got a nice image here, a photograph of the painted kit. You can use that as a nice reference image for when you're painting it. If you want to match the colors exactly, you can look at that. You've got some statistics here about the height, weight, and armaments and everything on there. Going around onto the back, a bunch more information, all in Japanese and English. You can read a bunch more information here in Japanese and English. If you want to read up on some of this stuff, I'll show that to you now, but I'm sure, again, a lot of this stuff is on the wiki page already, as the Gundam wiki is basically just the best source if you guys are looking for like more information about Gundams and things like that. Anyway, so there's the actions there at the bottom, and then our color guide below that. Let's get it opened up. This is a very thick manual, as it's not a folding piece of paper. It actually is stapled like a booklet. We got our very extensive parts list here running through all of that, and it looks like there's just going to be a couple of leftover parts from the A and the B runner, and then one part left over from the base runner. You're not going to use that very long arm that's used for that base, but you're going to be using pretty much everything else. So it's just on through the construction, and let's see how that goes. It's just building the Gundam first, it looks like. So the body, the head, the arms, the legs, and then the waist, and then the Gundam is done, and then it's just moving on into the construction of the apex. So you're building like what looks to be the parts for the chest, front skirt kind of parts first, and then the parts that go on the legs. It looks like building those up and attaching those onto the legs, then getting this up on the base next, then attaching on the fuel tanks, it looks like, and then starting on to like the psycho capture claw bits. So you'll be building up those for a while, and then attaching those onto the side, and then just a little bit about how to work the gimmicks and things, just attaching the beam sabers, moving things around, utilizing the gimmicks here, utilizing the psycho capture, showing you how to use that, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there about how to actually use everything together. So let's get a look at the parts list. Let's get a look at the runners. Yes. All right, so once again, here is that giant foil sticker sheet, and again, going back to things like the G-Self Assault Pack and the Barbatos with the long range booster and things, every time we have a big HG kit like this, it usually has a large sticker sheet like this, just because when you have that big of a mobile armor, they're not going to be able to get super detailed in terms of their part separation. So this is not very surprising. It's not very exciting either, but it's just kind of a fact of life for a big kit like this, unfortunately. It looks like, for the most part, none of these stickers, as far as I can tell, probably go on the Gundam, except for just the eyes and the cameras there at the top. The majority of these, I'm guessing, just go on the Apex itself. We've got our polycaps runner here, PC001, just in gray. We got runner SB13 for our clear pink beam saber effect parts in a very light pink, definitely lighter than what we normally typically see. And this is technically runner Z, but this is labeled a Saber 3. These are the giant 160 scale beam saber effect parts that you would normally get with like the perfect grade Gundam. But these are going to be our giant beam saber effect parts used for the end of the long giant barrel parts. And then for some bases, we've got BA2 or base 2, just molded in black. And then runner DBA1. This is from 2016. I believe this would be the same runner that was included with the HDR Iron Blood Orphans Hashmaw, I believe. It's used for that also, as well as maybe a couple other different kits, but that's the first one that came to mind anyway. But this is just in clear, and we've got two of these. This is again for holding up the giant long extended arms of this. So hopefully we won't really need these, because that's kind of annoying to have to use extra stands to hold something up, but we'll find out in the review. So moving on into the runners, we've got runner A1 here, which is all in white, and it looks like the runners are laid out similar to the order of how you build it. It basically goes through, it looks like all the runners for the Gundam itself first, and then for the Apex later on after that. So the interesting thing that I'm noticing about this runner is that it's very segmented. We've got a lot of separation points for this runner, and as we've seen recently, again, I think it's shown very briefly in the trailer, and then we saw some other images of this, is that the narrative Gundam also has like a kind of psycho frame mode similar to like the destroy mode. I'm not exactly sure what they're calling it for this one, but it's similar to the destroy mode for the Gundam Unicorn. So it looks like there's a chance possibly this runner could get chopped up, and we would only get parts of this if we're going to be getting that other different form of the narrative Gundam coming out later on down the line. But then we do also have runner A2 as well, which is a copy of this section up here. And then runner B is just molded in a kind of warm medium gray color for just a bunch of joints and inner frame parts and things like that. And then we've got runner B2, which is a copy of this part of the runner up here. And then runner C1 is in a very light, slightly bluish gray here with just a few of these little accent detail parts. And then runner C2, a copy of this half of the runner. Runner D, similar to the Unicorn Gundam, is just in navy blue for the backpack and the feet. And some nice detail up underneath the feet there, I will say. And then we've got runner E1. This is our only runner of red for this kit, and so you can see there's 1, 2, 3 parts for the actual Gundam. This part is for the apex, so you can see how that part of this runner could be omitted for the different versions of this kit to come out later that do not include the apex. And then runner E2 is our singular yellow part here for the V-fin. Runner F1 just in plain clear. It looks like, again, I think these two parts go in for the Gundam, and then these parts are maybe attachments for the bases for attaching those up onto the kit. And once again, you can see how there's separation points here for those to be omitted for later forms that don't include the apex. Then runner F2 is just this one little part here in blue for the Gundam itself. So that wraps up the parts for the Gundam. Now we're on into the parts for the apex, starting here with runner G1, which is in a kind of navy blue color, and then runner G2, which is a copy of this part of the runner here. And whereas the previous runners were all marked just narrative Gundam, these runners are now marked narrative Gundam, and then there is a bit there at the end for apex. Runner H1 is our yellow parts for the apex, and then runner H2 as well, a copy of that part of the runner there. Runner I1 is a bunch of big white parts here for the apex, and then runner I2 is a copy of that section for the runner up there. You can see that's where our missile pods are there on that one. And then another big runner with a bunch of big white parts here on it, runner J. This one as well, we've got 2 of these. And again for runner K, a bunch of large parts here in white, and we've got 2 of the K runner as well. And then runner L is simply marked booster unit, strangely enough, so I kind of am thinking that this is probably the same runner that's going to be included with the Jesta, the HG P-Bandai Jesta kit that does include some of these fuel tanks as well. So in that one, I think it only includes 2, so we'll just have 1 of these runner. But in this time, for this kit, we have 4, so we've got 2 of the L runner. Runner M here is in gray ABS plastic for a bunch of the joints and detail parts for that. You can see these are the parts on this quarter of the runner there that are segmented off. Those would be the parts for the fuel tank. So again, I think that's probably what we'll see when we take a look at the Jesta kit, whereas the rest of the stuff is all specific for the apex. So we'll have all that there. And we've got 2 of this M1 runner. And then finally runner N, which like runner M is in gray ABS plastic once again. And then we've got just basically a bunch of the larger connection pieces and a couple bits there for in the booster units, it looks like, as well as the long bit there for attaching this onto the base. And that's it. All right, so as you can see, there is a lot of kit here to go through, but I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun to build these big giant kits and just check them out. My experience with the other previous 2 similar kits that I've been mentioning is the G Self-Assault Pack and the Gundam Barbatos with the long-range booster. Both really fun kits to just kind of enjoy building something big like that in HG form. But I think this one does also include some interesting gimmicks into it as well. And it's something new, it's something different with the narrative Gundam. It's kind of interesting that they are releasing the narrative Gundam just not on its own at first, but just releasing it straight off the bat with this giant mobile armor attachment sets. And anyway, so we'll have to see if we do get this released later on as a smaller kit just on its own. Again, I'm thinking that we might get a separate kit with like the Psycho frame, whatever they end up calling it, the destroy mode version of this. I'm thinking that if and when that does get released, it won't be a P-Bandai kit. I could be wrong, but let's just wait and find out. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching this unboxing video. I know it's been a long one. There's a lot of stuff to go through with this kit, but leave any other further questions and comments you have there down in the information below. Again, a huge thank you to USA Gundam Store, guys. Check the link to their site in the description as well, and I'll see you guys in the review. Bye-bye. Hey! Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to check the kit out for yourself, you can head over to USA Gundam Store. Use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10. Save yourself 10%. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.